Greetings, terrestrials, greetings and welcome, one and all, to Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. I, of course, am your host, Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bazaar. Every week on this program, we take your calls because we want to hear about the strange and unexplained things you may have experienced, be it extraterrestrials, interdimensional beings, spirits, specters, and ghouls. We want to hear about them every week on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. Of course, we took last week off. We're feeling much well-rested after 2 straight months of shows, and here we are. Some crazy things have happened out in the world since our last program, so let's get right into the news. As you may be aware, it seems that here in the United States of America, there is a new president-elect, a man by the name of former President Joe Biden. Now, there's not without some controversy, of course. There is accusations coming from the current president of voter fraud. These accusations not really founded on any sort of fact or logic, but they are still being made by the president, and so people seem to take them seriously. Now, we've got a quote coming. We've pointed to this on the Strange Times Indeed Instagram, the Strange Times Indeed Twitter feeds. This is a quote coming from Vote America. This is a nonprofit that looks at voting and voter fraud and keeps an eye on these types of things. This is a quote from Deborah Cleaver, the CEO and founder of Vote America. She says, "Voter fraud is less common than UFO sightings. There have been 31 documented instances of voter fraud over the past 20 years out of more than 1 billion ballots cast. At the same time, there have been over 94,000 reported UFO sightings." Now, I shared this information, and this very pertinent information. It seems that voter fraud, very rare, but UFO sightings, much more common, and that's why we have this show. 94,000 sightings over the past 20 years, and nobody is calling in. At least not yet. We haven't posted the Zoom link in the chat, but every week on the program, we take calls. We want to hear from you. If you've experienced a UFO, if you've seen a ghost, you call in. Now, I shared this information. I shared this quote, and I got this message from a man named Gregory Strong. He says, "Of course, that's what," and this is, we're sharing in the interest of full dialogue between both sides, I suppose. He says, "Of course, that's what the mainstream media would have you believe. You've got to trace it to its source. UFO spotters are crisis actors paid by big space to keep us thinking that there's more worlds out there. Deborah Meat Cleaver hasn't always been CEO of Vote America. Of course, she was a part of the Harvey Milk Democratic, probably Socialist Commies Club, only the biggest one of its kind in modern-day SNG, San Francisco. No one reports voter fraud like they do UFOs. One is something that matters and can have deep, profound consequences, while the other is simply a illusory hiccup of the mind trying to make its sensory inputs into a coherent reality. Documented instances, because voter fraud is the easiest thing in the world. It's not like they take your social security number and fingerprints at the voting booth. Voting has never mattered. That's why they have over 150 counties in Georgia, and California has 58, but has 4 times more population. Now, why is that? Just think about how many more people have reported UFO sightings. Why there'd be if we didn't as a country astigmatize extraterrestrial sightings. This is a man very upset about this statement that UFO sightings are more common than voter fraud. But here's an interesting thing. Just the day after the election, just at the day after, the 4th of November, of course, we did not have a show this week, so last week. So this is new news this week. The day right after, Mr. Rudolfo Giuliani, former president of New York, or former mayor of New York City, he goes out in front of the press and he continues making accusations of voter fraud. He's really getting the fire going there. And he says in a statement to the press, he says that these mail-in ballots could be from Mars as far as we're concerned. Now, I found this to be a very interesting statement. It seems outlandish. It seems hard to believe. It seems absolutely bonkers, wild. Who would believe it? That voter fraud, that these mail-in ballots are coming from Mars. But let's take a look, if you will, in your mind's eye, of the map of the United States, pointing out who has won, which states, and where. And two particular states swung for Joe Biden that popped to mind: New Mexico and Nevada. Now, how does this tie in? How does this tie in to Mars and votes being cast from Mars? Well, as we all know, the Roswell crash, one of the main instances, the big inciting incident of the UFO explosion in the United States. The Roswell crash, covered up and said to be an air balloon, did occur in Roswell, New Mexico. A first incident of extraterrestrials coming to New Mexico, perhaps to cast votes in 1952. Well, who's to say? And then we look at the other state that Joe Biden won, of a couple more, Nevada. Nevada, home to Area 51, the top secret but recently disclosed, but still super secret, Air Force Base, where it is said that extraterrestrial craft are being housed and reverse engineered for our military means, and perhaps where the wreckage of the Roswell crash resides today. I'd say it's very possible that this new recent election, that looking at what Giuliani has said in the press and the recent wins in New Mexico and Nevada, why I think we may have the extraterrestrials to thank for this new and forthcoming leadership from President-elect former Vice President Joe Biden. Now, of course, this may sound odd. What stake would extraterrestrials have in a presidency from former Vice President Joe Biden? Well, as you may recall, not in the past couple of weeks, our current president, Donald Trump, not only acknowledged the existence of UFOs and the fact that the government was looking into them, but he did make threats against them. Now, these are an advanced species. These are advanced extraterrestrial beings coming from beyond our world. If they can reach here, they have technology far beyond our reach, far beyond anything that the nuclear warheads that we hold today are capable of doing damage to. Surely many of you watching tonight have witnessed the film Independence Day. We could be headed towards an encounter such as that, and we don't want a warfaring president at that time. If we can greet these extraterrestrial visitors in peace, then we have a greater chance of surviving. And it seems like President-elect former Vice President Joe Biden may be our best shot at maintaining a peaceful coexistence between our human and extraterrestrial beings and the extraterrestrials who come to visit us every single day. After all, 96,000 reported sightings over the past 20 years. Why, it's hard to think that they're not peeking in on us every day, sometimes going over unsighted. It's not over till the fat lady sings, somebody said in the chat. I suppose that's true, whatever that is in reference to. Now, of course, for those of you who do not feel comfortable calling, we did put the Zoom link in the chat, but we do take calls, we take tips from our email tip line, strangetipsindeed@gmail.com. We can bring that up on the screen there. If you experience something strange, something unexplained, and you don't feel comfortable calling into the show and sharing it with us live on the air, you can always write out your experience there. You can always send us pictures, images, evidence. And I'd like to talk about a recent email that we got just the other day from a viewer by the name of Barefoot52, commenting in the chat right there. He says, hello, Cliff and Steven. Steven, of course, is our technical director here on the show. Recently, my wife and I took a trip to the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay, and I took a few pictures that you might be interested in. The first is a road sign warning of the presence of some sort of creature that appears to be half man, half deer. I never heard of such a thing before, but I thought it might be related to the creature that Ranger Steve talked about from when he worked at that nature park in the same area. Now, Steven, could we bring up the image of this warning sign? There's the image there. Now, my initial instincts involving this creature and what is described here, this was cited, this sign, on a vacation in the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay. So we are on the Prince George's side, the Prince George's County side of Maryland. I'm not sure if we're exactly in Prince George's County. I don't believe that county touches the bay. But what is important to note is in classic and traditional Maryland lore, there have been many sightings in Prince George's County of a goat man, half goat, who has attacked people with an axe in the woods in that area. Now, it's possible that the goat man has been seen taking trips to the bay. Who doesn't like a little trip to an almost beach? So this could be a sign, a warning, that the goat man has been sighted in that area in the past. Now, I'm not sure if what's actually kind of surprising tonight on the show, our own forest ranger Steve is sitting in with Steven tonight. Steven, and Steve, if you're able to come on, does this appear to be the creature you described when you were on the show in the past? Oh.
No. Well, no. It was tall and quite in shape. While what I could see at that time in King Park, there was that top light that was down right out in front of the Ranger Lodge. I did not see antlers. That would be my biggest thing to say that maybe no, this is not that creature. But it is human, definitely. And based even on the signs, I'd say that's that scale. It does look very tall.
And it does. It seems to have troubling proportions almost in some way.
Yes, I'll say. Very, very big legs.
Yes. Well, thank you, Steve, for confirming that theory and giving us that feedback there. An unexpected special guest appearance from Steve, our forest ranger Steve friend. Steve and Steven are currently training. Steven is training Steve, or we call them together, Steve and Steven, is training Steve to be a new technical director on the show. So every now and then, should he need a break, our own Stephen Craig can get some rest, and we can hang out with Steve every once in a while. So thank you for learning a new skill, Steve, and Steven, thank you for teaching an old skill. As going back to that letter from before, Barefoot 52 goes on to write. The next images are of a creature I spotted in the bay while I was relaxing on the beach. It kept diving under the surface for extended periods and then resurfacing in a different place. I think it may be Chessie, the Chesapeake Bay Monster, named similarly to Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster, as it is believed they are of similar genus. But I'll let you, the Czar of the Bazaar, be the judge, so let's take a look at this image. Steven, if we could pull that up. Looking forward to tonight's show after a week off, he said there. Now, there is one of the images that Barefoot 52 sent in. It mostly appears to be water, but let's get a nice red circle around the weird thing so people know what we need to see. There it is. Now, that right there, some sort of odd creature in the water, bobbing up and down, going under for long periods of time, and then resurfacing in other areas. Very bizarre, perhaps. Now, looking at the size of the wake there, looking at the size of it, it appears, now, there it is. All right, it's still within the red circle. Very good. Now, it does appear, given by the size of the ripples in the water, that this is a smaller creature than Chessie, the Chesapeake Bay Monster would be believed to be. It's often believed that a creature of the age of Chessie, of the time that it spent in the bay, would be much larger, but who's to say that Chessie cannot procreate? Why can't it have little baby Chessies? It's very possible there may be a school of Chessies in the Chesapeake Bay. Let's bring up that second image. So I just want to get another look at this sweet little bean. Now there you can see it again right over here. And that one, even if you look, it's got this signature hump of a Loch Ness Monster-esque cryptid. You see it's got the little head popping out of the water. It goes down in, and then a little bump on the back. That's how you know that we may be dealing with a baby Chessie. Now there's a close-up of the head, and there's the thing just hovering. You look at that red circle travel around the weird thing. Always helpful to have a red circle if you ever send in an image to the show and you're unsure that I, Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre, may be able to pinpoint exactly what the odd thing you wanted to share is. Put a red circle around it. We'll know exactly where to find it. Now, moving along in the show tonight, and bring down that image, I want to give a special thanks to one of our viewers. Goes by the Instagram handle Frady Cadigan or Katie Radigan, as she's called in real life. Made me this incredible mug. You may have noticed it with my own moniker right there on the side. Czar of the Bizarre, that's me. Look at this incredible piece of work sent in by Katie Radigan. What an incredible, would you ever think you would own a mug so beautiful as this to keep you hydrated during your weekly paranormal call-in reality show? An incredibly awesome mug. Look, take a look at this. But look, it's even got a little space for your thumb right there with an alien head, and you can't see it, but on the bottom, engraved the words, "Stay Strange." I'd have to drink. I got to get further into the water before you'll see that, but keep a keen eye out. I'm sure you'll notice it before the end of the program. So, Katie Radigan, thank you for sending that in. If you enjoy mugs like this, if you are interested in art, Katie, I think you can. Well, actually, I don't know if you can put the URL in your thing, but I believe it is wildthingspottery.com, or you can find mugs like this. Not exactly this one, of course. This one's for me. But other mugs, dragon scale mugs, and other such ceramic accoutrements. Thank you so much for sending that in, Katie. Of course, as always, here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister, we take your calls. Steven, let's go ahead and plop that link right there in the thing. If anybody wants to call in and talk about something strange or unexplained that they've experienced, the lines are open. We want to hear from you tonight. We want to hear about the goings-on. It's been 2 weeks since our last broadcast and 3 weeks since we opened the lines to paranormal calls and sightings. Of course, 2 weeks ago, we wrapped up our 4-part bi-weekly true crime series, Who Killed Marilyn? Some incredible things were uncovered during the course of that programming. So you can always be sure to check out the Met Comedy Night YouTube page, where you'll find an archive of all of our shows. And you can go back and watch the entire series, the entire Who Killed Marilyn series, and decide for yourself who you think killed Marilyn. I think we've pretty much closed the case on that one, but if anyone has any theories tonight, they're always welcome to call in. And of course, on the show, not only do we take your calls about the things you've witnessed that you can't quite explain, but I, Cliff McCallister, the Czar of the Bizarre, am a bit of a dream interpreter. Every week on the show, our good technical director, Stephen, he shares some of his dreams and we interpret them. But we're not going to get to that quite yet, because I just want you to know that if you yourself have a dream that needs some interpretation, you can go ahead and click that Zoom link. Give us a call. I've done some pretty accurate dream readings in the past. We've got some news coming in tonight from all over the world. But now this one, 96,000 UFO sightings a year. That's a number from Vote America. Put in contrast to the number of voter fraud accusations over the past 20 years. But here is some interesting information coming out of NASA. An exhaustive study from NASA has concluded that there could be a whopping 300 million habitable worlds in the Milky Way galaxy. The intriguing determination reportedly came by way of a 2-year-long project in which 44 astronomers studied data collected by the Kepler telescope. Seen as the culmination of the exoplanet hunting spacecraft's work, one of the scientists for the team marveled to the New York Times that this is the science result we've all been waiting for, and the reason that Kepler was selected for flight in December of 2001. Now, this data found that half of the stars similar to our own sun could have a rocky planet surrounding them, orbiting them, capable of supporting liquid water on its surface. Now, of course, this, even with 300 million potential planets that could hold life, I still find this number to be alarmingly small, and I find that the limitations that NASA is putting on this to be quite telling. We are basing the limitations of extraterrestrial life off of the limitations of life on our own planet. We as human beings evolved after the Big Bang, after the dinosaurs, after all these things to become us. We take in oxygen, we take in water, and that's good and fine. But who's to say that on other planets there are creatures capable of evolving and coming to life without oxygen, without water? Perhaps there are creatures that sustain themselves on carbon monoxide, on things that would kill humans, may give these other creatures life. We can't just hold ourselves to the limitations of what is habitable based on what would enable a human to survive. Humans cannot survive in every atmosphere. Look into the depths of the ocean. You see any humans down there? No, you don't. You see some pretty odd-looking fish that wouldn't survive closer up. They cannot take in the sunlight. It would practically melt their brains, and they get up into the oxygen and they shrivel away. Well, who's to say there aren't entire planets being habited by extraterrestrial beings that cannot withstand the harsh realities of the Earth atmosphere? And we cannot withstand the harsh realities of their own. We owe it to ourselves to be investigating each and every planet to see if we cannot uncover such beings as these. And that is why we are calling on our viewers tonight. Go ahead and tweet at NASA and say, quit wasting your time narrowing things down. Investigate every planet. Count every planet. You've got to go to each planet and see what is there. See if there are extraterrestrial life forms living on these planets who are not capable of surviving on Earth. Because who's to say that in their own evolution, that they have not evolved past the means for oxygen or water? Of course, perhaps the best way to get in touch with extraterrestrial beings such as these is through a form of work, a form of meditation called CE5, which stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. These are terrestrial initiated close encounters, reaching out to beings from beyond our own planet using the powers of our own mind and making that connection. And you can reach these things through deep meditation. Demi Lovato taught us all about it. We talked about it 3 weeks ago on the show. She has been studying CE5 with Dr. Stephen Greer. We talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago. We downloaded the CE5 Contact app. We paid $9.99 to do this in-depth research for you, the viewer. And this app offers guided meditations to help you make psychic contact with extraterrestrial beings. And so right now, before we go to break, we're going to do a little guided meditation together and see if we can't establish contact. So I want you all to make your way to the window of your room, whatever room you're in, whatever room you are enjoying the show. It's all right to turn away from the screen for now. Nothing too wild is going to happen. I promise you that. Go ahead and sit back and look look outside your window. Do you have a skylight in your home? Well, even better, a direct line to the stars. I want you to take a look out your window. Gaze up into the stars above. Take a deep inhale. An exhale. Clear your mind. Think of nothing but the empty void of space. A void where miles upon miles upon miles of nothingness exists between free-floating planets, free-floating asteroids, comets, all sorts of things that we can't quite grasp above us. Picture yourself in the middle of that void. Picture yourself there, in the dark void of space. There you are, just trying to grasp the realities of the things you can't explain. Look to your left and there are some stars you've never seen before. Look to your right. There's a whole new planet out there in the void. Bring yourself closer to that planet. Fly towards it calmly. There's no need to rush. The planet will still be there when you arrive. Bring yourself down. Look around this new planet. What is there? What are you resting your eyes upon? Is there a new creature that you have never seen before? An extraterrestrial being, suddenly terrestrial by the fact that it is on its own planet. And now you are the extraterrestrial. Do you come in peace? Well, let's hope so. For the intensive purposes of this exercise, let's say you do. After all, they will respond much better if you come looking for peace. Greet this extraterrestrial being. Greet this terrestrial being, as you are now the extraterrestrial. Tell it about where you come from. Tell it about that crush you have. Tell it about love, about extraterrestrial love, about finding that something special out there in the universe and finding some happiness within it. If there's anything that is to save our planet on a cosmic scale, it's to tell these terrestrial beings about love. One of the greatest things there is that you could ever hope to experience. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let these terrestrial beings recognize you as a calm presence. Now, in making contact with these beings, let them tell you about their planet. Let them show you around. Show you something new. Take you to a grocery store. See what they eat. Certainly unlike anything you could find on our home planet. For every planet is different. And so is every terrestrial being. And now, say to that being, thank you so much for having me on your planet, but it's time for a commercial break. And I will return someday very soon with good news. And then, tell that terrestrial being about the comedy night programming that can be found on twitch.tv/metcomedynight. Steven, let's roll that clip.
Hello, everybody. We are the Comedy Pigs. We're practicing a game we call Scenes from a Hat. Wrong things to say at a eulogy.
I am so gonna miss Mr. I'm just gonna really miss this guy here. He's a good guy.
He just borrowed like $100 from me like Thursday, so just wondering who's gonna pay now that he's dead.
Things you can shout at a football game, but not in bed.
Well, you could have drove a dump truck through that gap.
Yeah, we're dealing with a bunch of overpaid prima donnas here.
Man, his brother and his dad are way better at doing that than he is.
Bye.
See you at the show.
Right. Thank
See you at the shows.
Comedy Pigs.
Thank you, Comedy Pigs.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye, Comedy
Hey,
Pigs.
you're watching at home. Greetings, terrestrials, and welcome back to Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. I, of course, Cliff McCallister, your host and the czar of the bizarre. Every week on this program, we take your calls to hear about your encounters with the strange and the unexplained. And, of course, this show and every episode of Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister is dedicated to the Maryland Ensemble Theater because they're the only theater with the guts to put us on the air. Of course, we tell the truth here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. We've had interference from the government. We've had interference from Verizon trying to shut us down, trying to silence us, and only the Maryland Ensemble Theater will provide us a platform to speak the truth to the people who need to hear it. Now, not only can you watch Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister here on the Maryland Ensemble Theater's Twitch page, twitch.tv/metcomedynight, but tomorrow night you can join Met Comedy Night's improv troupe, the Comedy Pigs, for an incredible half hour of short-form improv. That's going to be happening Friday at 9 o'clock. And, of course, the next production of Maryland Ensemble Theater's Season of Surprises, The Tempest, opens this weekend. Yes, that's right. For you fans of William Shakespeare, The Tempest is coming to you virtually in a way that's safe for all. Steve and I'm not sure if you've tuned in at the very beginning of the program, you may have seen the trailer for The Tempest. And oh, pardon me. Yes, let's show that real quick.
Is it so brave, alas?
Aye, my lord, she will become my bed, and bring me forth brave brood.
I defy thee! Mercy upon us!
Art thou feared?
No, monster, not I.
Weekend.
Be not
afeard.
You gotta get your tickets to see this thing at marylandensemble.org/tempest. We've got 2 actors live in the space. Each one has been regularly testing to make sure they have not been exposed to the coronavirus. And they are appearing on stage, acting live. Prospero, the mad sorcerer, and Ariel, his little trickster sprite, are there in the space interacting with a cast of 9 other actors who are appearing on the scenes on screens around them. It's really an incredible reimagining of what theater might look like during these coronavirus times. And if you would like to see that, if you would like to experience this incredible production of William Shakespeare's The Tempest, you can get your tickets at marylandensemble.org/tempest. And of course, if you've been enjoying this show and you'd like to support us more, if you'd like to see more Comedy Night program, if you'd like to see anything from the Maryland Ensemble Theater, if you'd like to see us through to the end of this whole pandemic, go ahead and make a donation at marylandensemble.org/donate. Of course, as we said before the break, we do dream interpretation on the show, as well as hearing your calls about the strange and unexplained. We've got a dream logged here in the chat. It says, I dreamed the other week from Barefoot and 52. He says, I dreamed the other week that I was in Ocean City waiting for a municipal bus when I got caught in the middle of a gang fight. To get away from it, I slipped into the lobby of a hotel and decided to call a cab instead of waiting for the bus. When the cab got there, it was driven by Humphrey Bogart, and there were dead gangsters in the back. What could this mean? Well, it sounds to me, Barefoot and 52, it sounds like you are on your way to having some sort of tumultuous vacation. Wherever you may find yourself going in the near future to take a break, to get some rest, might not be as safe as you thought it was. But there might be something of comfort there for you, something a little old-timey, something a little old-fashioned that reminds you of the good old days. Humphrey Bogart, if you will, driving an Uber, driving a taxi. He makes his way over, and there's that familiar face, and you found that in that old nostalgia has managed to kill the horrific things that make this place different and scary from what it once was. And so you've got to cling to that nostalgia, get in the cab with Humphrey Bogart, and hope he doesn't kill you too. How's that for an interpretation? Of course, we take calls about all things strange and unexplained. Stephen, let's go ahead and put the Zoom link right there in the chat if anyone would like to call in. But then I'd like to bring you on. See, oh, good. It feels better now. Always good to soothe people through our programming. Of our many goals here on the show, to provide a soothing presence that makes the world a little better, and to tell the truth about the unexplained. Stephen, were you saying something? Wonderful, wonderful. Now,
I'm
Stephen,
coming on, Cliff.
Stephen, there
hey,
they
buddy.
are.
Well,
Now,
our friend Steve is gonna hop in and do some of these Strange Time shows real soon, and he might even in the future be excited about sharing dreams. For right now,
I do have dreams.
He has dreams.
That's incredible.
Isn't it incredible?
I find
it's almost
unfortunately
perfect.
I find unfortunately because I think the world is as strange as it is. I don't have too many dreams, and perhaps that's what enables me to interpret others' dreams so well.
Well, great. You know what we need? We need a random date of 2014 in the chat, and I'm trying to find a dream log that's close to that.
If you are watching the show,
like a quick dream you want to share right before I get into my dreams from 6 years ago,
I can think that I had. Yeah, I can think of. Woke up in that it terrified me. I was like 10, but I dreamed like that was like completely destroyed, and there was Superman, and he looked all evil, and he had a really weird flashlight for his arm, and he kept shining his light at me, and every time he did, I just remember like it was burning, and I just trying to run away from him. But I remember it scared me so much. Yeah, I remember waking up from that like in a sweat and totally afraid, and I think that's the only time I've ever woken up from a dream like that afraid. But I was very young, and yeah. What do you make of that, Cliff?
Well, that sounds like a troubling vision of a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Now, what might be perhaps an infusion of the pop culture that you consumed as a child is the Superman thing, but what I find troubling is this harmful flashlight that shines a ray of painful light down and attacks you. If I were to interpret this dream, I would say that this is perhaps a vision of a world in which something has gone horribly wrong, perhaps. And of course, this did happen when you were a child. This was before we fixed that hole in the ozone layer, so it's possible what you were seeing was an alternate future, a vision of a world in which that hole had not been repaired, and these raw rays from the sun have punctured in through our atmosphere and caused irreparable damage to the world. And you've got to stay out of that light coming from the sun, that light coming from the flashlight. And it's all kind of embodied there in the flashlight as the light coming through that hole in the ozone layer. Now, thankfully, this happened when you were a child. We've since fixed that hole. It seems like we've averted this vision of the future that you witnessed as a young man.
Wow, I'll be.
Oh, I didn't realize that it was such a vision with such larger impact.
Oh, that's what Cliff's here for. Even though, and I oftentimes share dreams from my past, and this was very long ago. You were having this dream, and to think about, if only you knew then what you know now, right?
Oh,
well, so we haven't gotten any dates posted in the chat for one of my.
Yes, let's see. We've got a few more viewers since when you asked that the first time. But Stephen for a while had, and I think now too, has been working on practicing the skill of lucid dreaming, of living fully in his dreams, and he kept a dream journal. We'd like to look at what he's experienced, what he's logged in that journal, and see what they mean, see what we can interpret from his dreams.
We'll do it like a magic trick. I'm just going to fan through the book, and I have Steve tell me when to stop.
All right.
Here we go. This page right here. 7/31/14. Last night I was dreaming there were a bunch of different scenes I was in with different... I have chicken scratch writing in the morning, apparently. Different blank I was working on at a store that sold a bunch of crackers. There was a bunch of people there, and it was my first day. I didn't even have shoes, just black socks. I asked Kennedy what kind of coffee we had. We talked about all the different flavors for a minute, and I didn't get anything. Another scene was at the mall. Oh, okay. I was walking into a pottery shop that I'd been to before. Oh, Katie Radigan will like this.
And may I interject and ask a clarifying question? You refer to these as different scenes. Do you mean scenes as if in a play, or do you just mean these are different moments from your dream?
I think that in the dream, I'm rehearsing different scenes.
All right.
Like an actor. Yeah.
Okay.
In rehearsal in the dream?
Which I'm realizing this, another scene was at the mall. I was dreaming there were a bunch of different scenes I was in with different blank. Anyway, so another scene I was in at the mall, I was walking into a pottery shop that I'd been to before, and a girl outside was wondering, why can't I get one cheap if it's broken or something? Once I walked in, the lady gave me 8 pieces that she didn't want or couldn't use. I was extremely happy, and once I got down the hall and to the elevator, I called the blonde girl over and let her choose one for herself. Another part of the dream was this surf class. I was there with Carly, and we saw several people. I know David Hawk was there, and so was Bruce, but he didn't talk to me. He was bragging to someone else about how cool my brother is. This surf thing was going to be hard because there was a large time commitment, and I had my cracker job. And I think I was still aware of medieval times. Apparently, we had a show on Friday, which makes 2 shows total for me. I was back in the cracker store, still with no shoes, and these babies were skateboarding on little skateboards. One of them hit the wall really hard, and he was okay. He got up, and his face was contorting, and his body was too, as if it just lined itself up again. Oh, there was another part where there is this little girl with powers. She can pull things up out of the ground and make things more on their own. Her powers get out of hand, and other people are able to run around with powers of their own. These powers get stronger as they are traded around until they are all powerful. They get into the wrong hands, so the little girl make contact with the man that has the powers and sacrifices what's left of her own powers to neutralize the powers of the world, or the would have been villains. That was a 3-page dream. Look at the Mighty Morphin signs going up in the chat.
So it sounds to me, Stephen, what I find alarming in this dream, and you mentioned it, is you're going from place to place. You're constantly going from one place to the other. You've got these different jobs. In one place, you're working at a cracker store. Another, you're just trying to go to the mall. You're getting extra pottery pieces, perhaps for an at-home art project you may be working on. And in the midst of this, you're concerned about your job at medieval times, which, correct me if I'm wrong.
Concerned about the cracker job, but still aware that I have the medieval times job.
Working 2 jobs.
Yeah, and I was working 2 jobs in the dream, which is very normal for me. At least 2.
Yes, and I think that's perhaps why so many things are happening in this dream. This is perhaps a projection of your need to constantly be working, to be going from project to project. You're going from scene to scene. Like you said, you don't really believe that these were scenes as far as different moments from your dream, but scenes that were perhaps scenes you were rehearsing for a play or such a thing. And so you're...
Yeah, the second scene made me think that it was for a play, but then it morphed back again, like as if this was just like a different place in my dream reality. Like I warped time real quick and I was in a different scene, like in my own movie.
Yeah, like in the dream reality, you.
Yeah.
Almost like you were.
Like I cut to a new scene. Like Mr. Truman.
All right, Steve. Who's interpreting dreams here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's keep in mind.
Sorry, Cliff.
Let's keep in mind our place, Stephen.
I apologize. I'm new.
It's all right. It's all right if you want to slide in and sit in for Stephen every now and then. But if you're trying to move in on the Czar of the Bazaar's territory here, we're gonna have some trouble.
I have no clout.
Yeah, I'll say that's for sure. No,
I think we just have similar dream personalities, so we were connecting there. But please continue your interpretation.
Stephen, yes. Well, I would say that perhaps your inability to distinguish between whether some of these scenes were scenes from a play or actual just moments you're living in real life seem to indicate perhaps a blurry line between your work life and your home life, and your inability to draw a clear boundary between the two. And not only do they blend together in giving you extra work that you have to do in your dreams at the cracker store, in addition to the work you have to do at medieval times, but now within your own dream, you can't quite tell what is fake and what is real within the world of the dream. And there's a superhero girl in there for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know what happened with all those powers.
Perhaps what you need in your life is a powerful woman, Stephen. And perhaps you found one. Who's to say? I guess you are.
Well, certainly in 2014, I had written that after finding a particular woman that I'm currently still with. So, actually, the producer's sister.
Yes, I believe I'm aware.
Carly?
A talented girl, many talents in their own way can be superpowers.
Yeah, maybe. Well, what's interesting though, I did mention Carly in the dream. She was in one of the scenes.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about people with superpowers. They often have alter egos.
Oh.
That's good. He's onto something.
I
there.
mean, perhaps it's some kind of thing. Perhaps it's like a Superman kind of thing. After all, Clark Kent and Superman, two completely different people. But the only difference, the glasses. Those glasses come off. Hey, it could be somebody completely different under there.
Totally
Superman.
different. Yeah, that could be.
I
Anyways.
think it's time to thank you for your interpretation, Cliff.
I believe so. Go ahead.
You've enlightened me. You've enlightened my friend through my dream. I can't wait to spend more time with you unlocking my subconscious.
Well, I can't wait to hear more of your dreams. And Steve, if you ever have another dream, feel free to tell us about it. After all, it seems like you've already experienced one troubling alternate future in your own dream world, so any dreams that you might experience now could be signs of a troubling potential path that we could be going on.
Thanks, Cliff. I'll certainly tell you about it, and we can unlock the well and of potential.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Stephen. We'll see you boys later. Now, of course, it seems that this is bringing us to the tail end of our program here tonight on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. And, of course, Cliff McCallister, the czar of the bizarre, every week, every Thursday, 9 o'clock, here on twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night. We are doing this show as a public service. Folks can call in and share their stories. Now, we were off last week. Next week's going to be a little different. I will be astral projecting in next week with a pre-taped special sharing some of our previous favorite calls from the show. We did a clip show back at the beginning, towards the end of August, of some of the calls from our Instagram days. Well, we've got some pretty fascinating calls over the past 2 months. So 3 incredible hauntings. And we are going to be highlighting those in a little clip show for y'all next week. So be sure to tune in for that. And you can see just here, if you've got concerns, if you're skeptical of calling in, and you think, oh, I'm not sure if I want to tell Cliff about this strange thing I've experienced. This is on a twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night. What if he gives me the old roast? Well, what if he makes fun of me? Well, we'd never make fun of you for experiencing the bizarre here on Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McCallister. No, this is a safe space. And you watch that show next week, you will see, just from some truly strange phone calls, just how seriously we take these subjects. So go ahead and tune in. You will hear some incredible stories next week. That's every Thursday, 9 o'clock. You're on twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night. And of course, tomorrow night, tune in here live. We've got the Comedy Pigs doing some improv comedy. That's going to be Friday night, 9 o'clock, twitch.tv/Met Comedy Night. Usually they go on Facebook and Twitch, but this week it's important to note they are exclusively streaming on Twitch because we've got to use some of that hot technology that lets them do Facebook and Twitch for the Maryland Ensemble Theater's main stage production of The Tempest, a virtual main stage production produced in a way that's safe for audiences and for actors alike. 2 actors in the space and no others. And then of TV screens all around, surrounding them with different actors performing the other roles from The Tempest. Steve of Steven, he's in it. But he's not performing on stage every night. No, you'll see his face on one of the many screens in the Maryland Ensemble Theater's production of The Tempest. That opens tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. But to get your tickets, you got to go to marylandensemble.org/Tempest. And of course, this show is dedicated to the Maryland Ensemble Theater, the only place that has the guts to put us on the air. We want to give a big special thank you to them. Thank you to Barefoot and 52 for sending in your encounters on the Chesapeake Bay. Thank you to Stephen for sharing your dreams with us. Thank you to Katie Radigan and Wild Things Pottery for this incredible mug, the new official mug of the show. You get a better look at it now that I've drank more of it. There's a nice little extraterrestrial right there for your thumb. The little spaceships that are designed right after the ones you see on your very screen here. And of course, my own moniker, the Czar of the Bazaar. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, Steven, our technical directors, the theater, our commenters, everyone in the chat. Stay strange, terrestrials.